Here we go.
Welcome everybody to the Stabcast. I'm Dizzle.
And I am Dizzle.
And we are here back for the Stabcast, and we're here to talk about, it might be, just maybe, the finale of one of our favorite franchises of all time.
Your favorite franchise of all time.
Well, I put it in the description as ours.
Okay.
And I think it's great. I've always loved the Final Destination movies, especially the first trilogy. And I think that this one is, if it's going to be a closure, and by the way, this is the spoiler review of Final Destination Bloodlines.
Yes. If you have not watched Final Destination Bloodlines yet at your local movie theater, it's not streamed, but it will be soon. Mm-hmm. Make sure you either pause this, turn it off, and go watch the actual movie if you want to.
Yeah. If
you don't want to and you'd rather watch a review or a mini review, which I'll come out with later, that's up to you guys.
Yeah, the mini review will be non-spoiler.
We can't help it. But, I mean, if you guys want a spoiler-free review, we're not your people, unfortunately. Yeah. We just tried to do one of those, and it didn't work. So, yeah. But, yeah. So, 15 years. How do you feel about that? They waited 15 years, and they still, in my opinion, they came back with a vengeance, honestly.
I thought they did a great job.
Yeah. For a film that has not been touched, or a film franchise that has not been touched since 2010, yeah. I think they did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, yes, we knew there was going to be one. There was literally going to be one for like 10 years. Uh-huh. But the whole time, because Final Destination 5 did so good, the whole time, everyone knew that Final Destination 6 was going to exist. But when, where, how was the big thing, and if, and everything else. And the writers' strike had a lot to do with this.
Yeah.
As well as the fact that, rest in peace, Tony Todd.
Yes.
He was supposed to be a major player in this movie. Unfortunately, he did get, I'm not going to lie to y'all. I'm not going to be like some of those people that are like, oh, well, he was in a good chunk of the movie. He wasn't. They gave him like 7 minutes. But it was a good 7 minutes. And honestly, I feel like he was more able to be himself than in the 5 minutes they gave him for his little speech in Candyman.
Yeah.
And he knew, not that he was going to die, but Tony Todd already had stomach cancer. So he knew that he didn't have long.
Yeah.
So he knew that he was never going to be on camera ever again.
Yes.
So the screenwriter and the director actually decided that he could do his own lines after he tells the protagonist what's going on. When he says goodbye and walks out and whatnot and does like the live your life to the fullest before death come and gets you.
Yeah, that's
like that was his personal advice. Yeah. That was something that he did himself. They let him write that himself.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, good on the filmmakers, because that part definitely made me cry. I even got a little trickle from Dizzle over here.
It did.
Just a little trickle. It was a very powerful moment.
It was.
I will say though, he looks really bad. Like,
that was an eerie scene of Tony Todd saying goodbye, and it was very. And as fans of his, it was sweet, but it was bittersweet. And just to see him kind of walk off out of his office and just tell everyone, "I'm going to go enjoy what I have left." And it kind of seemed like he knew what was going on, and his character knew it. It was really good. And it really made a good part of the movie. And this got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Damn!
Critic score, 88% audience score. So
woo! Give it up.
People are really liking it.
Well, honestly, in my opinion, it's up there with like 1, 2, 3, and 5, and then this one. The fourth one can just go jump over a bridge.
I don't know. It made $220 million. And I think it's still in theaters for some places, but
yeah, that's like what, the second week?
Yeah, second or third week.
Well, no, it's third week now. Yeah. So honestly, they got a good thing going. They really do.
Yeah, they do.
So
I really think that this was a well done movie, and I think that's probably the best critically acclaimed Final Destination in the franchise.
Since the first one.
The first, if I were to rank them. It would be very hard, and I said something different last week, but after letting it marinate, because I do think this movie is really well done with good characters and good deaths, and that's what you need in a final.
And good effects.
And good effects. I don't like any of the ones that came after 3. Really, I would go, I would go 3. This one, 1, 2, and I know that's not a popular ranking, but that's what I would do.
I mean, 3 was your childhood, I think.
I liked all of them.
3 came out when you were like a kid and like you were actually going to fairs and stuff, and like hanging out with your friends, going on roller coasters, having fun.
Yeah.
So I think 3 for you resonated with you a little bit more.
Yeah.
You were able to like connect with it, and also unfortunately, people these days don't have this option, but people like us who used to go out and get the DVDs and whatnot, we had those special features. And the third one was very cool with their special features. They had like the pick your own adventure kind of thing, kind of deal. And then they also had like the history of death. Kind of thing, and it was really, really cool. It scared the crap out of me, but it was cool. Yeah,
it was a pretty sick, and that's when bonus features were sick and DVDs were cool. That's what made them so charming and different. And I love streaming services as our new show that we're going to be doing. But DVDs, there was something so charming and awesome about them, and being able to watch bonus features, and that in particular was like a whole different layer to it.
Yeah.
So, but this movie, it is a good closure for it, and it wraps everything up in a great way. And since we said we're doing spoilers, the fact that it links everything, like from Tony Todd to like this one beginning scene, that's probably, and if I were to rank the premonitions, this is the best premonition. This beats the roller coaster, beats the airplane, this beats every premonition. I think this is probably the best one to begin the film.
Especially because she kind of noticed it.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah, she kind of saw
it. Didn't take her long.
Yeah, and they're always the funnest parts of these, kind of like the scream kill at the beginning. The premonitions are so dope, but the big ass tower restaurant and the old timey feel to it was cool, and everyone in the jackets and the get up. It made it. It was a really fun, because it's usually like kids going on like a roller coaster or an airplane or something like that, or they're at a racetrack. Like they've done all sorts of shit, but it's fun. Like a bunch of people eating at this big dangerous restaurant that you wouldn't think about. You're just going.
It's already at maximum capacity.
Yeah, but it's super high up in the air. 500 feet or some shit?
I think like 400, 500 feet, something like that. But it was the tallest structure at the time.
Yeah.
And like you had the penny throwing kid. Oh my God, I hate this kid. So first off, this kid steals a penny from a fountain in front of an officer. And the officer tells him, like, look, that's bad luck. You shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then he goes on top of the tower and he keeps throwing pennies.
Yeah.
Where is his mother?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering the whole time. Like, where's your mama?
Where's the mom?
Why didn't no one smack your ass yet? It's the 60s.
Yes.
So, I mean, I will have to say, though, once again, especially with the premonition, once again, they did a fantastic job of making the songs parts of the premonition.
Yes.
And then part of the film.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's one thing Final Destination is known for, and they kind of got lost in that a little bit after the third one.
Yeah, I agree.
But, like, because in the first one, you had Mocky Mountain High.
Yes.
And then in the second one, you had Highway to Hell.
Yes.
And then the third one, you had There's Someone Walking Beside You.
Yes.
Which is so weird. And then...
So good, though.
So good. And then they stopped for the other two. And it's like, what the hell? Yeah. Wonder sounds bad. It's creepy. Yeah. And then like they actually do bring that back a little bit. Just a tad. I mean, not much, but like when she goes into the restaurant with her beloved and whatnot, because it's like a blind date kind of thing, but they've been together for a really long time and he wants to surprise her. Yeah. When they're going into the restaurant, the song that plays is Ring of Fire. What is that? Yeah, and everybody's collapsed by the Ring of Fire. So, like, that's just, the music kind of really does add up. And this movie does a good job of that.
Yes. And I think, and I will say that it is brilliant if you're going to tie everything to this one separate thing, the fact that none of these people and that so many people were there and that none of them were supposed to have families, and the fact that they had families, and that's why death keeps coming for all of these, and that explains all these movies and shit. That's a pretty good fucking way to tie it up, and it doesn't feel lazy and it doesn't feel false.
And the fact that they had the grandmother working with JB, who ended up being William John Bluntworth, which was Tony Todd's character, and he even admits it when they come to see him.
Yes, that's
like insane. I've been working with your grandmother this entire time, trying to figure out what is going on. And if you go to a couple different YouTube channels I've seen of doing it, a lot of people, and we'll probably do it at one point, a lot of people are doing deep dives.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and like seeing like how it happened and like her notebook and everything. Because like if you look closely at her notebook, she documented everything that happened to people and their families.
Yeah.
So her and William, which she called him JB to keep him out of it, they kind of knew that what was going on. That's why William Bluntworth, he was a coroner and all that stuff, because he was trying to help people.
Yeah.
He was trying to not screw with death, but kind of get to the bottom of it and figure out why this is going on. And I think that was pretty cool. And like it's interesting to me because normally when we open up with a premonition, we're normally met with the same person.
Yeah.
Technically, that didn't happen this time.
Yeah.
When the premonition ended, we went to a young girl who was screaming her head off in the middle of a freaking like conference day.
Yeah.
In college, like a lecture, that's what they call it, and we're like, huh? As the audience, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah,
she's not blonde.
Yeah,
and this isn't the 60s anymore. Yeah. What the fuck?
What are we doing?
And like we find out, like through this young lady, that she keeps having these dreams over and over and over again.
Yeah,
and Stephanie
Reyes.
She's puzzled. Stephanie.
Reyes. Yeah.
She's puzzled by the fact that she only knows one singular person that has the same name as the person in her dream.
Yeah.
But that's her grandma. And no one talks about her. Like, everyone keeps grandma, like, hush, hush. They don't even really acknowledge that grandma exists.
Yeah, they think grandma cray-cray.
So, I mean, she boarded herself up in a cabin. She kind of is cray-cray.
Yeah, but she ended up being the big hero that kept everybody going for so long.
Yeah, she did. She wanted to make sure that everyone had a long life and that they had a good family and everything else. So she actually...
Stephanie fucked it up, if we're being honest.
She actually did. Boarded herself up in a cabin and everything else. She did what Alex Browning tried to do in the very first one.
Yeah.
When he tried to...
Well, he put himself in a
No, it
white
was a
room.
Cabin. It wasn't a white room. It was a cabin.
Oh, no, yeah, it was the lady that put herself.
Claire Rivers, by the second one, had put herself in an asylum.
Yeah, he put it...
Because she didn't want to deal with anything that was going to hurt her.
The fact that he was killed off screen is insane to me.
And it was by a brick. And if you look in the movie, I didn't realize this at first, but if you look really hard in the notebook, the grandma has a picture of a brick hitting a guy in the head.
Damn.
Yeah. So she even saw Alex's death.
Yeah, it's insane.
It really is. No, sorry. Daniel's not going to be able to get the ring of fire out of his head.
Yeah, I really let's give it up for Richard Harmon, who's from the 100, who I find is a perfect sleazeball character, who's kind of has a heart of gold, but kind of so dumb that, and he's got a sleaziness to him. And he plays Eric Campbell, who I think is hilarious.
Eric!
And he's the cousin who's not really, and that's why I think that it's whole brilliant, the having families and death coming after the families, and the fact that they think that's coming after him, and the big, and Stephanie and her brother and everybody is trying to keep this guy alive. And, which is kind of skipping after her uncle dies, which is a crazy scene with the glass shard.
Oh my God, that was so suspenseful.
Yeah,
because you had a rake, and you had the kids jumping on top of the rake. Oh my God,
the craziest backyard barbecue I've ever seen. Makes me want to never have one again. And that's why I told my friend, I was like, I was at work and I was washing my hands because I work in a machine shop, with oil and shit. And I'm washing my hands and I'm talking to somebody. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to see Final Destination this weekend. I can't wait to see what activities I'm going to never want to do again. And backyard barbecue, you can put on the list.
Yeah, we're never having a family picnic ever again. Right. Especially not with the lemonade.
Right in time for summertime. But
and I will have to say, if you guys like Chucky, season 1 at least, a little Juju's in here.
Yeah, he's the brother, and I think he's incredible in this role.
He does a good job.
I think he does a really good job, and he shows the emotion on his face. And I like the whole family. I like the blonde girl cousin. I like everybody. I like Bobby. I think he's hilarious. I think in his little peanut allergy, and I think it adds something to it. And I think Eric is incredible. And I think, Harmon, he does a great job in this. And do you think death is coming for him? You think he is over? You think it's done? And everyone thinks Stephanie's a kook but then it gets revealed after his sister, the blonde girl, gets sucked into a dumpster.
Yeah, because Stephanie sees the entire thing happening.
Yeah.
And she comes back and she tells Eric everything that's going to happen. And while she's doing this, you look off to the side and you see that their sister is having exactly what's happening to her.
Yeah.
What was supposed to happen to him. So then they're all in the living room crying, and they're like, we thought we knew death's design. Eric's like, I was the next one. And then the mother's like, you were never in any danger. And he is like, huh? What?
See, it seemed like they were supposed to get him the whole time, though, and maybe he just got saved. So that's what I thought. And maybe because you know how it skipped a few times.
Yeah, but William Bluntworth said in many different films he was in, death will take you out if you try to fuck with it.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that later. But it was incredible.
Eric challenged death.
But I thought it was a good plot device and it worked. And now you think, because they introduced this and it's coming after the families, and now she had this guy with a different. It was an affair, so he's not a part of the bloodline, so he doesn't get. And now you think, this character's immune, and that gives it a cool wrinkle for the film. As now you think that Eric's going to be okay, and you think that he's not in any danger. Then you start watching the movie later on, but we'll get to that. And honestly, actually, it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to it a little bit later. But I think the family element and it coming after the families and that whole explanation for it incredibly works. This one's shot incredibly well. It's directed incredibly well. I'm a fan of the man that did the third one, and I'm a fan of the original ones. But this one is for the new age and for a new movie. It felt like this had how I love movies and I love new stuff. with the remakes and the sequels, I can do a good sequel if there's more stories to tell. I felt like they had more to say in this one, and they had a good way to wrap it up, so I'm okay with this. Yeah. And I think it really works in a good way because they have a clear vision for where they want to go with it, how they want to end it, and how they want this thing. Like, if they don't make another one, this is how they want to close it. Which I know with money and everything, they probably will make it because it's been successful.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's had way too much commercial
the way Hollywood works,
in the 30 weeks for people just to let it go and let it die.
But I think it's absolutely incredible, and I think it should. The kills are kind of what makes this, it all a Final Destination movie needs to do is have somewhat fun, likable characters, really good kills, and a
somewhat decent plot,
and a pretty good through line. And this has all of those things, and that's what makes it work so good. And Stephanie's a pretty good final girl, even though no one's really a final anything in this.
Her dad's more of a final girl.
But and Eric, again, the tattoo scene, and this is before we know that he's immune. This
is what you've all seen in trailers, by the way, is what he's about to talk about. Go ahead,
the tattoo scene where he's in the parlor and he's got the music played up and everything, and it seems like death's coming for him. Mm-hmm. But it's not gonna, and he ends up being okay. But that's this one really ramps up, and they always do this with these movies. Is you see a guy getting out of a shower, and it turns out being like a 10-minute scene, and it's like they really build up the anticipation.
Oh my god, like the gym scene in the fifth one.
Yeah, they really build it up, and they do it in this, but the intensity that they get it to, and you're like, oh my god, it's gonna happen here. Oh, it's gonna happen here. They do it really good in this one, And I think this group of kids, and I will get to my favorite scene now, and it is my favorite kill in the movie.
Well, hold on.
Go ahead.
But you got, I have one thing to say.
Say it.
And that is when I went to the hospital, you saw that rotating door, right?
Yes.
That was actually supposed to be the mother's death.
Really?
Technically, yes. I did see the deleted scene. They filmed it. They cut it because they said it was too traumatic. But that was supposed to be when Stephanie and her brother lost her mom.
But she's not a part of the family, really. So.
No, she is. The mother is their bloodline. Father isn't. The mother. That's why it says Darlene. Darlene is their mother. So.
Yeah, but I thought
the father raised them, but she.
But death came from the father, and she doesn't die.
Mm-mm. Death didn't come from the father.
Her husband. That she had the kids with and everything. He's the one that died at the barbecue.
No, that's the uncle.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Stephanie and her brother.
Okay. And her mom?
Yeah. And then when they all went to the hospital to get the...
Oh, instead of killing her mom at the
Eric,
shack?
Instead of killing her mom at the cabin, they had filmed a scene of her mom's necklace getting stuck in the revolving door and it taking off her hat.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I thought you were talking about the aunt for a second.
No, not the aunt, the mom.
Because the aunt, yeah.
Because the aunt was in the clear. She was good.
Because she just had the kids.
The mom, yeah. Darlene, that could have been a very,
I'm with you now.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't keep that.
I don't know. Her dying at the shack at the beginning was pretty fucking traumatic too, and Stephanie visiting her and shit.
No, not grandma.
Oh, okay.
Not grandma.
Oh, the mom at the end.
The mom.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Mom. But I'm glad she lasted later on in the movie, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm glad she made it to the final stand and she became a hero and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, they had that big, like, do we kill her off now? Do we wait for her to make a sacrifice? What do we do?
I like the way they did it with her at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad she lasted a little longer.
Thank you so much.
But the hospital scene is the best scene in the movie. Them being in the and them playing because their whole thing, and we already touched on the Tony Todd part of it, and that's part of it, and that's kind of what makes this whole them being at this whole backdrop. It was fun, and it really worked for the movie and all the shit that can go wrong in a fucking hospital, and Eric and Bobby go on this side quest because they find out that one of the big things, and Tony kind of reveals that if you really want to stop it, you're going to have to kill somebody and then bring them back to life. And then that's the way to stop it.
Because there's only one person that's been able to do that, and her name is Kimberly.
Yeah.
He's talking about, in the second one, the one survivor, the girl named Kimberly. Now, I don't know what happened to the sheriff.
Yeah.
That's never said what happened to the deputy that kept her ass alive. I don't know whatever happened to him. But according to William Bluntworth, Kimberly did find a way to survive.
Yeah.
But technically she did die, which we'll get to that in a minute.
We will?
But yeah, because the thing is, when they have the prom date at the end of the movie and whatnot, they're talking about how the father was able to bring Stephanie back to life. And then June's prom date.
Oh, yeah.
His father's like, wait a minute. You didn't need a crash cart or anything. You just did CPR. She was knocked out, not dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a crazy scene in its own right. That's a great way to end this whole thing, if that's really the ending. I love that. But this hospital scene where they get him, and it's funny because Eric's going to get him some unsalted peanuts, and he's like, listen, I have this peanut butter. If I'm going out with a peanut butter cup, bitch. And I love that call. And so they got him a knockoff Reese's because they didn't afford the Brandon deal. And they went into a room with an MRI machine, which is the worst idea ever. And
a wheelchair, too.
And a wheelchair. And so he could sit down. And they end up fucking turning on the MRI machine, and it ends up going as high as possible. And, of course, poor Eric has nipple piercings. And dick piercings. And you see this man getting pulled apart, and it's so crazy. And he gets sucked into the fucking thing while this kid is eating.
That's why you never, ever, ever press buttons that you shouldn't press.
Yeah.
You press the button.
And this kid's dying. And he finally gets to his EpiPen. And then he's on the MRI machine after his brother just got sucked in and buried into this thing. And one of the best Final Destination kills I've ever seen in my fucking life. And then he is sitting there. And then the one, because he didn't really, die. He just saved that he didn't die yet. He was still breathing anyway. And we could visibly see that. He wasn't dead. And the nurse came and said, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And then one of the springs from the vending machine that we're at pops in, and you can see it loosen up earlier in the movie, which is incredible foreshadowing. I didn't see this coming. And it pops out and goes right through the kid's fucking forehead. And that was a great tool kill for one. That was an incredible scene.
Yeah. And
then it gets explained because, and just the way Stephanie says it, when it was either her or somebody else, when somebody was like, so why did Eric die? He wasn't in the family. It's like, because Tony Todd said it earlier, when you fuck with death, shit gets messy. Yeah. And then that's what happened.
And what's really cool about this, y'all can go anywhere and see it and whatnot, but me and Daniel, we do our information, we do our research. And one thing that we love is practical effects.
Yes.
When we saw this, we thought it had to be CGI. I found out that it was not CGI.
No.
What they did was they took an MRI machine and they put one guy in the bottom for the legs, and then they put the actor on top.
Oh, damn.
And that was just honestly the perfect way to do it.
Yeah, that is perfect.
Because very practical, very good effect. Because honestly, I thought it had to have been CGI.
Yeah.
But I guess it wasn't. They found a way how to do it practically. And that makes a good movie, folks.
Yes.
If you can figure out how to do something practically
it always
and still
looks better.
Have it be like, oh,
it always
good.
Looks better. It's always better for a movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love it. Listen, I love the superhero genre, and I love a lot of things with a lot of CGI. But I love a good practical effect.
Yeah. But I think that's a good thing in horror movies is the practical effects.
Yeah.
Versus the CGI, because a lot of people nowadays, when you go into a horror movie, you think that it's going to be a bunch of CGI.
Yeah.
This film did a very good job of making a lot of it practical.
Yeah, you would think this would be loaded with it, but they do a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. What was your favorite kill in the movie, Mindy?
Oh my God. My favorite kill has to be at the very, very end. Because people that have never stuck with the series like I have, because I've been literally watching this series since I was 10.
Yeah.
Since the first one came out in 2000. And there's a reason why people in my family call me this. A lot of people call me Murphy. That's because Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong, will go wrong.
Yeah.
That's what normally happens in my life.
Yes.
That's just me to a T. So when this movie first came in my life, I was like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that shit.
Yeah.
And then like the second one came and he loves it. And I was like, I can't, no. And it had like the logging incident and whatnot. And like we've discussed before how like we still look at logging trucks to this day and go, fuck no.
That's what reason.
And so like it stuck with us throughout the whole thing. But the reason why it's my favorite kill is because they really thought that they were in the clear. They thought that they were okay and that they were good to go. And then all of a sudden they find out from his state's dad that she was just knocked out. She wasn't dead.
Yeah, her heart didn't stop.
Her heart didn't stop. And like she looks at her brother and she's like, oh God, run. And like you find out that same penny, the same damn penny was on the railroad tracks that derailed the train that came coming down the street after them, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And
they think they're in the clear because they escape a train. And they flash back to they do an homage to the second one.
Yeah, they bring back the logs.
And they bring back the logs. Like all of a sudden the logs go flying and the kids are dead. And it's like, I can live with this.
Yeah, it was a really good, spectacular ending and a fun way to end it off.
And honestly, that was my favorite kill.
And every single person is gone now in the Bloodline. So it's like the movie and Tony Todd kind of walked away. So there is not a reason to bring it back. So it was a good reason. It's a good closure. It's a good ending. And I think it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
I would rate this. I would give this. I go all the way up to an 8.6. I think I had a lot of fun with this one.
I was going to give it an 8.4.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I feel like since Eric wasn't a family member, that he shouldn't have got the epic kill that he did.
Yeah, he got a lot of screen time. He was fun.
He was fun. He was fun, and he was funny.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe they could have focused on a different character a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Bobby and his chemistry and the scene with the babies in the hotel room was fucking amazing when he's like because Take Another Life was the only other thing. It was just a weird thing to throw in. And because I think a lot of people from past ones would be like, fuck, I'll kill somebody. but I love how they throw it in here. And they're looking at it and he's like, yeah, but we don't know how much time they have left. And then he looks over at a bunch of babies and then they're just like, and then he's like, no, we could. He's like, yeah, no. He's like, well, maybe. And he's like, no. And then they go through that for like 2 minutes, and then he's like, don't touch those babies.
Those two are kind of like you and Doug.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's right before they die, but that was a fun little relationship building. And the whole I'm not going to let you go thing, it's like maybe they might make it. They built that scene enough, and the actors did that good in that scene that it really seemed like they might get past it. Yeah. And it made their death even mean more and cooler.
Yeah. Absolutely. I will say that. Honestly, I do know that there probably is going to be a seventh one. I've already heard it be joked around. Do I think there should be? No. I think that this is it. Yeah. I think that what are they going to do? Go back to the other people that they said died and go through all
there's
their
one
families?
Other person that hanging outside the building.
Like, what are they going to do at this point? Like, everyone's dead.
Yeah.
So, and even William Bluntworth said, once you guys die, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So, everybody's going to die.
Yeah.
And it all leads up to that happening. I will say, though, normally time traveling movies like this, pieces like this, I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like the whole time travel. That's more of his thing. Don't like the whole time travel heebie-jeebie hipster shit. Don't like it. I will say it works with this movie.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
The old-timey feel from the beginning really works.
Yeah, like the chandelier going through.
Yeah.
And like honestly, it made that premonition was up there with the first three.
I agree.
Because that premonition was very good.
I really do. I think it was incredibly well done and well shot.
Because if you look at like the things that were happening, like the chandelier and everything, and then like she saved thousands of or hundreds of lives that weren't supposed to be saved.
To me, it goes this car crash, roller coaster, airplane.
Okay.
If we're gonna go for the premonitions.
Okay.
In my opinion.
What car crash? On the bridge or the?
Oh no, the second one.
Oh, okay, the logging incident. Okay.
Yeah, the second one and the car crash and everything involved in that. That was a really good premonition. And the first one was good in the airplane, and it set the tone for the franchise. But the roller coaster one's iconic. And yeah, that's the order in my opinion. You got anything else, sir?
I think we're good.
All right, we're going to be doing The Nun next week.
Yes.
We're going to dip our toes into the Conjuring universe, something we've had a lot of fun with, and one of our we like this one a lot. So we saw this one in theaters.
Yes, and we have done these movies, but they've all been like podcasted back in the day. So we're gonna go back and
I don't know if we did The Nun. So
I don't think we did The Nun, but I think we did all the Conjuring.
We at least did that. Yeah, we did that. The newest one that came out at the time. That we did. But we will do The Nun next week, and we'll see everybody next time. And
as always, hooty hoo.
Hooty hoo. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen.